Hey, Paul, how you doing? You snuck in there.
I did. Slipped right in.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Genoa Township Board of Zoning Appeals. It's November 28th, 2023, 7 p.m. We're at the Genoa Township Hall at 5111 South Old 3C Highway, Westerville, Ohio 43082. We have two cases on the agenda tonight. BZA case 2023-14, which is an area variance at 6201 Maxtown Road. And we have BZA case 2023-15, which is also an area variance at 10501 Hoover Woods Drive. And we also have the other agenda item is the 2024 meeting schedule. Staff present is Susan Dorch, our Deputy Zoning Inspector, Paul Benson, Deputy Zoning Inspector, and Peter Griggs, who is our legal counsel. Okay, I will call the roll. Mr. Phillips.
Present.
Mr. Hanson.
Present.
Mr. Boone. Mr. DeRose.
Present.
Mr. Christian and Miss Yu are both absent. Oh, didn't see you back there. But you're not participating. Correct? Or is he? Okay. All right, I will read this statement into the record from our procedures. As is the adopted policy of the Board of Zoning Appeals, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentation. The audience will then be granted an opportunity to comment, followed by questions from the board. This policy was adopted by the Board of Zoning Appeals to provide for the orderly discussion of business scheduled for consideration. The chairperson may limit repetitive debate. The first item that needs to be considered is review and approval of the meeting minutes from September 26, 2023. I'll give you a moment to look over those, and then I will entertain a motion to approve. Anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve as presented.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips, second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Boone. Any discussion? Any items of note? No? All in favor of approval of minutes from September 26, 2023, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any abstentions? Mr. Hanson abstains. Motion carries. Okay. Our next order, hang on one second here. Next order of business is the public hearing. Susan, should we do the second case first since it's no, or do you want to do that after? Okay. Okay. We'll open the public hearing at 7:04. Which is an area variance, and I will read the legal notice into the record, and then I will swear in those that wish to speak. Berkeley Ellis, Cardinal Self-Storage, Westerville LLC, on behalf of Robert L. Taylor and Terry Deersing Taylor, co-trustee, requesting approval of a variance to section 1505.05 of the Genoa Township Zoning Resolution to allow the maximum gross floor area of a commonly controlled business operation to exceed the maximum allowed 65,000 square foot of gross floor area within one or more buildings on parcel number 317-342-01-015-000 and parcel number 317-342-01-016-000, known as 6201 Maxtown Road, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, that is currently zoned light industrial, and that's LI, and this is BZA case 2022-14. Those that wish to appear in this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. Counsel?
No, I don't need.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, be seated. Thank you. Okay, the
Mark?
legal, yes.
I think there's a typo in the
Is there?
legal notice. It's 2023-14 is the case number. I think it's just a typo.
Hang on. Oh, yes, you're right, it is. I see it now. BZA case 2023-14. That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. The legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on November 11, 2023 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on November 8, 2023. An attempt to mail notice of this hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. We have exhibits A through D, which includes the legal notice, sign-in sheet, application, and the staff report entered into evidence. And we will start with staff.
Thank you, Mark. As noted in the legal notice, the address of the front parcel is 6201 Maxtown Road. It is zoned light industrial. The combined total of both parcels is 15.59 acres. According to the Delaware County Auditor's website, Robert Taylor and Terry Deersing Taylor have owned the parcels since July of 2011. On November 30th, 2021, Joe Schaefer, Director of the Development Zoning Department, received an email from Mr. Miller from Voorhees asking to confirm that self-storage was a permitted use in the light industrial zoning district. Mr. Schaefer did confirm that this was a permitted use pursuant to section 1502.02.AA and 1502.03 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. In March of 2022, we received a request for any building permits, zoning records, violation notices. They were looking for environmental concerns, and we replied to that email in March 4th of 2022. On June 29th, 2023, we received an application for construction of storage units on the subject parcels. A letter regarding the township's review of the non-residential zoning permit application was emailed to Berkeley Ellis on July 14th, 2023, and you all had received a copy of that letter. And on July 27th of 2023, Mr. Ellis sent a request via email to rescind a non-residential zoning permit application, and subsequently we received the variance application on October 4th of 2023. As noted earlier, storage units are a permitted use in the light industrial district. I did want to clarify for the record, the application, the Deersing name was misspelled there. That the first paragraph of the applicant's narrative statement incorrectly states that the court case Cardinal Self Storage Maxtown LLC versus the Board of Genoa Township was related to a variance. The court case was related to a divergence because that was for a planned district and not a street district. The zoning standard in question during the court case referenced in the applicant's narrative while similar, was technically a different section of the zoning resolution. The development in the reference court case was and is located in a planned industrial district, while the subject property is located in a light industrial district. The applicant's narrative statement responds to section 307.04A, claims other buildings in the area exceed the 65,000 square foot threshold. Their narrative does not include evidence of these claims, but the township records indicate the following square footages for the buildings referenced. The Home Depot is 119,000 square feet. Kroger's is 89,820 square feet. The public storage facility, which was formerly a Cardinal Self-Storage, is 90,400 square feet, and Westerville North Self-Storage is 73,000 square feet. The applicant's narrative responds to section 307.04 and 307.05 of the Genoa Township Resolution, but they did not respond to the questions listed on the dimensional variance request questionnaire form, which is part of the variance application. So they did not respond to the Duncan versus Middlefield standards. The site plan provided as part of the subject application shows a substantial amount of undeveloped land on the northern parcel, and it seems likely that the applicant will desire to develop this land in the future. Any new proposal that does not comply with the standards listed in the Genoa Township zoning resolution will be subject to an additional variance request or a rezoning to a planned district and a final development approval process. If the Board of Zoning Appeals is inclined to approve the request, staff requests that it is stated for the record and as part of the motion that such approval only constitutes approval of the specific variance being requested and does not constitute approval of a development plan nor the approval of a zoning permit. We had also included as an attachment to the staff report responses to, they had responded to Joe's earlier letter from July 14th, and he responded back again to their responses, which is dated November 9th. You all received a copy of that. We did receive 2 phone call inquiries after the, one was before the staff report and then an additional one after the staff report was sent out. And neither one were expressing objections or in favor. They were just asking questions about the application. That's all I have. Oh, I guess we did send to police, fire, and maintenance, and we did not get any responses back with concerns about the application.
Okay. Okay, anybody have any questions for Susan?
Go to the applicant.
Yeah, applicant?
I guess I have one quick
Oh,
question.
go ahead, Mike.
Susan, you did mention that they didn't provide specific responses to Duncan versus Minifield, correct?
Correct.
As a part of the process, do we require that those responses be submitted to us? Or is it just a guideline or guidance for us?
I mean, it's part of our application.
Okay, so the
Right.
application
It's on the printed
process,
form.
wasn't completed.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
I just have a follow-up question on that. And Mark, and maybe this is what you were asking, and this is for my purposes as well. Even though it's not on the application, if the applicant presents those today, can we glean from the testimony today? Or does it have to start from the
No,
application?
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
staff has processed the application and brought it forward. If there was a concern at the time that should have been conveyed to the applicant, that they needed to fill it out. Certainly, it's perhaps even more important to have it on the record, under oath, as opposed to just simply written down on a piece of paper anyway.
Yeah,
So,
okay,
so
I was
yes,
just following up Mark's question, for
Yeah.
at least for my edification, my
Cor-
first joining.
correct.
Whether that was a technical thing that it had to be there, or whether we can get to that today.
I think it's more of a technical thing, and I'm sure Mr. Miller will probably be going through those factors for you today.
Good.
Okay, nothing else? Let's hear from the applicant.
Thank you, I
You
appreciate it.
can stay there, you can be at the podium, whatever you're most
You have a
comfortable with.
preference?
Nope,
All
it's
right,
up to you.
Just stay here. if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you. Joe
Introduce
Miller
yourself. Yeah.
of the Voorhees Law Firm. I'm joined by Cole Ellis, Principal of Cardinal Self-Storage this evening. We appreciate your time and indulgence and have a presentation to share. But if it's helpful, I'll start with Mr. Phillips and Mr. DeRosa's questions about the Duncan factors. When I filled out the application, this isn't your traditional dimensional variance about setbacks or anything like that. Instead, it relates to square footage limitations. I filled out the miscellaneous variance application, which does not include those factors. And so what we're going to go through tonight, what I did provide in my narrative statement was reasons for the requirements for a variance to be approved, address the factors for your consideration. Those are set forth at 307.04 and .05 of the zoning resolution. These Duncan factors, which frankly you're going to hear are pretty repetitive of the prior two sections, are set forth at section 307.06 of the zoning resolution. So with your indulgence, I'll walk through each of them, hopefully quickly, not to take too much time, but hopefully kind of to your
Oh, I got till
satisfaction.
Thursday morning at 10.
Very
so do
good.
what you need to do.
Very good. Since I charge by the hour, Mr. Ellis would probably object on that basis.
If you don't mind.
I wish I
Since I charge
could.
by the hour and mine doesn't start till tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So staff has kindly helped me with the presentation to facilitate a discussion tonight. Hopefully you're familiar with the site. This is 6201 Maxtown Road. It is an irregular, frankly, it's an irregular flag-shaped lot. It's not even your traditional flag-shaped lot, but it has a narrow drive coming off of Maxtown Road. It's a large site, approximately 15.6 acres. It's located behind Harris Automotive and Maxtown Medical, which front on Maxtown Road. Immediately to the west is Public Storage. Immediately to the north is Westerville North Self-Storage. The site itself today, this picture doesn't really allow for it, this aerial. It's occupied by Al's Towing. Frankly, it's filled right now with broken down autos. What is being proposed, I submit to you, is an improvement over what is the current use. It is a fully permitted use. So what is being proposed is shown here. This graphic is a little confusing in that south is to the left of that image, north is to the right. So at the south end of that, at the south end is Maxtown Road, which is seen in the left-hand side of that image. Self-storage use, as I mentioned a moment ago, is fully permitted in the light industrial district. It's already in existence immediately to the west, immediately to the north, and you can see, unlike what exists today with that auto graveyard, to not to be impolite about it, what will exist afterwards is a 75-foot grassy buffer from the homes that abut the light industrial district. It'll be approximately 150 feet from the edge of those lots to any building. The parking canopy is what's proposed. 6-foot opaque fence.
I'm sorry to interrupt
Sure.
you. How many acres is it again? I
Fif-
totally
nearly
lost it.
15.6.
15.6.
Yeah, it's nearly invisible to Maxtown Road, but it's a very
Yeah.
large site that's otherwise landlocked, except for that drive to Maxtown Road. You may know from your own experience, and certainly the existing facilities have shown, This is not a traffic intense use. This is not going to be visible to Maxtown Road, and so we think it is a good use of site within the property within the light industrial district. So what is the requested variance? It is a variance from, and this was working like a charm a moment ago. There we go. Oh, sorry. All right.
Cooks in the kitchen.
Maybe. I'm trying to move to the next slide, Paul, if that's helpful. If you have control, I'm happy to just say next. Thank you so much. So what is the requested variance? Sections 1505.05 of the zoning resolution imposes a maximum gross floor area of 65,000 square feet under common ownership. Frankly, I am old enough to recall this was intended to prevent big box stores. This township and a lot of municipalities and townships passed ordinances similar to this. But nonetheless, we're asking for a variance from this for 79,585 square feet of building space. I submit to you that this is a modest request because nearly half of it, 37,500, Ms. Dorsch and Mr. Schaefer consider to be a building, but it's actually instead a parking canopy for RV and boat storage. And again, that amount of square footage is very modest given the size of this site, 15.5, 15.6 acres. Interestingly, the question of, if we see the next slide, the question of whether a variance like this can be denied has actually been previously litigated. I don't disagree with any of the distinctions that Ms. Dorsch made about previously this was litigated in a planned industrial district, and this is a light industrial district. I submit to you that it's incredibly similar, and those distinctions do not make a difference. Judge Gormley of the Court of Common Pleas considered a similar request from a divergence from this limitation. The court found that the establishment of a business on a flag-shaped vacant lot, like here, is compatible to surrounding businesses and advances the public interest. Found that due to the shape of the lot, travelers on Maxtown Road would be unlikely to see the larger building, like here, and the divergent was consistent with the purpose and intent of the zoning resolution. I submit to you, as I'll cover later, like here. And the court held in that case that the township's denial of the divergence was arbitrary, unreasonable, and unsupported. So we believe that that greatly supports a yes vote tonight for this variance, since it's under incredibly similar circumstances. Regardless, I want to give you, in the next slide and beyond, the comfort that you need, that this just makes a whole lot of sense on its face. There's those three sections that I mentioned a moment ago. 04 is approval of a variance, what you should consider. 05 is the factors to be considered in making findings. And .06 are those Duncan factors, and I'm happy to cover them in detail, though I recognize they are somewhat repetitive. I'll try to roll through them quickly. As we see in the next slide, this is the 04 section. None of these are compelling in that we're not saying each one of these has to be met, but they are requirements for your consideration. We don't believe the variance is contrary to public interest. Judge Gormley agreed that establishment of a business on a flag-shaped vacant lot that's compatible to surrounding businesses, which this is, advances the public interest. The next factor is, would a literal enforcement of the zoning resolution result in unnecessary hardship? I stress that word because it's not just hardship, but is it really unnecessary what's being imposed upon this owner? This site is large, and so this square footage I submit to you is not just proportional, I think it's modest. Due to the shape and location of the property, it's not as though people are going to have to look at exceptionally large buildings. They're not going to see it from Maxtown Road, and it's going to provide a canopy for outdoor storage, which we think is a benefit to surrounding properties, as well as an amenity to the users. In the next slide, we see the continuation of these factors under 04. It's absolutely consistent to approve this variance with the spirit of the zoning resolution, and substantial justice will be done by its approval. There you see the purpose of the zoning resolution. It's to ensure compatibility of land uses, and that's exactly what this will do, given the similarity of use and size of buildings in the immediate area, and to allow for the orderly development of all lands. That's what we have here with this very irregular flag-shaped lot tucked behind existing businesses. Self-storage is safe and convenient to the township. It is not impactful, as I mentioned, to traffic or to township services. Continuing on, the factors for your consideration under O5, you're to consider whether special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved. Again, the site is large, it's irregular in shape and not visible from the street. This will allow for an outdoor canopy for boats and RVs, which is a benefit to surrounding properties and an amenity to the users. B is pretty easy, in my opinion. A literal interpretation of the zoning resolution will deprive cardinal self-storage of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district. It will absolutely treat cardinal self-storage differently, including the public storage immediately to the west and Westerville North self-storage to the north, which exceed this limitation. In the next slide, you're also to consider that the special circumstances do not result from the actions of cardinal. The size, shape, location of this property, none of that is the result of cardinal's actions. Granting of this variance will not rezone the property. This is a fully permitted use in the limited industrial district. The next factor on the next slide, E, is common or very similar to what I already explained. This is very much in line with the comprehensive plan and the spirit intent of the zoning resolution. The comp plan absolutely contemplates this particular property continuing to develop consistent with permitted industrial use, which this is. Another consideration is the variance the minimum necessary to accomplish the purpose. Again, I believe it's modest. It's only necessitated by the parking canopy rather than an actual enclosed structure. We don't believe that granting this variance will adversely affect the vicinity, properties, or persons in the area. As I mentioned, I believe that what's being proposed is better than the current circumstances. On the next slide, finally, point 06 are those Duncan factors. I want to leave this presentation in the record with you, as well as Judge Gormley's decision and our application and narrative statement. But very quickly, one factor for your consideration. None of these are paramount. Not all need to be met. They're merely factors for your consideration. Is, will it yield a reasonable return without the variance? This property is very large. It's adjacent to self-storage facilities that are bigger than this one. And we submit that it's not feasible to operate a self-storage facility with covered outdoor storage areas without the requested variance. This next factor, B, I've covered in so many words. This variance is not substantial. It only exceeds the 65,000 square foot limit by approximately 15,000, and all of that is due to the parking canopy. Nearly half of the area of enclosed structures is because of the parking canopy. If we turn to the next factor, C, the character of the neighborhood, you yourself can immediately see will not be altered. This use is incredibly compatible. It's permitted. The site is already zoned industrial. Add into that, there is no aesthetic change to the area. It's not going to be visible from the roadway. We think that there is no detriment and the neighborhood will not be altered. And instead, as I've said a couple times now, we think this use will actually improve the subject property from its current use today. The next slide goes through some remaining factors of 06. Again, it will not adversely impact governmental services. This is not an impactful use. The property owner should reasonably expect to receive the same treatment as the neighboring businesses, which those neighboring businesses have exceeded the square footage limitation. And then I've already addressed F in so many words that the building itself is less than the 65,000 square foot limitation. It's this parking canopy that takes us beyond that, and we wouldn't be able to offer that amenity and benefit without this variance. So the final factor, and then I can Mr. Ellis and I are happy to take your questions, is G, the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement will be observed by granting a variance. That goes back to the purpose and intent of the zoning resolution, the limited industrial district. We believe we clearly satisfy each of those things. Again, we think it's a great improvement to the site under nearly identical circumstances. The Delaware County Court of Common Pleas found that a variance could not be denied. We're only asking to be treated the same as contiguous and adjacent properties, some with the exact same land use. So I apologize for not being as brief as I would like, but hopefully that builds out the record on the factors before you. With that, Mr. Ellis and I are happy to answer what questions you
Can
may
you
have.
clarify, what is the square footage of the proposed canopy?
37,500.
It is 37,
Yeah.
okay.
It's nearly half of it, and there it is depicted. It's the
Yeah,
building,
it's along the property line.
well, after the parking, yes, there it is.
Yeah,
Thank you for
north-
maximizing
Yeah,
that.
north-south on the east side, right? Correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And so basically, it runs the length of. Am I reading
The
that
public
right?
storage facility.
Yeah, okay. It's.
Not the entire length, but it's,
Right, it's,
it runs the
Just
length
so
of
I
that
can-
same storage building.
it's this.
No, it's
That's the
what's,
setback. Oh,
yes,
okay,
it's
there.
just that,
Got it, okay. That's
which provides 70 outdoor storage spaces.
70,
Yes,
and they're what, about 20, 25 feet wide?
yes, it's approximately 16 feet high. It's Westerville North Self-Storage to the north provides such storage, but without a parking canopy. It's just open and exposed. So we
Mhm.
think this is a better quality product.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
anybody?
Oh,
Go
good,
ahead,
that's
Bob.
the existing site today.
We leave it on this right here, I have a question. So I see in the plans that were attached, these plans
Mhm.
here,
Mhm.
we go to page, I think it's E0001. The lighting fixtures. I'm with you on the fact that it's away from not being able to be seen from the streets, but I'm just curious on, have you taken a look at or taken into your process what the lighting impact may be? Can we go back to the aerial view? Because right now I know that this is a dead lot. When I say by dead lot, meaning that it's a little bit, not the nicest keeping of area, but will I don't know how many light poles or anything like that, have you taken into consideration what that has as it goes on to these houses in here?
Fair question, Mr. DeRosa, especially as it goes to the zoning permit application rather than the variance for the 65,000 square foot. But I think it's still fair. My recollection, though I don't have a lighting plan in front of me, is that it is fully conforming. And then there's that enormous buffer from the residential area that I mentioned, a 75-foot grassy area that will be fully seeded. And then likewise, even while the paving begins, there's still almost another 75 feet before you reach the parking canopy. I don't know that, I mean, I think the township zoning resolution, as I recall it, requires the light to be essentially self-contained on site. And we don't
It has
anticipate.
to have be shielded.
Yeah, I saw that what you have on here is the shielded lights, but I was curious, is it the light's going to go in with the initial approval? I mean, because this is going to be 24 access.
Mr. Ellis can speak to,
No, it's not going to be 24-hour access.
Okay.
It's only from 6 in the morning until 10 at night. But the lights will be on, and they'll be on the building, and they're all shut, they all shoot down.
Okay, they're on the buildings, and these are, because it has here I was looking at this because I was concerned that this is going to be a freestanding pole from what I was looking at, but these are going to be on the building?
I want to make sure I'm looking at you are Mr. DeRose. Oh, I do not. I don't believe I have the lighting plan with me tonight, so I apologize for that. Thank you. It's that pole.
That's why I'm asking the questions. I couldn't read that to
It's a
save my life.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bob.
Here's the lighting plan.
There's a lighting plan right here. And it shows that none of the lighting is going over the.
Right. Yeah, we would
There-
just.
there is
go ahead.
there is a lighting plan attached, which is the next page.
I was gonna say, is that the one on page 3?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the lighting
Oh,
plan.
11.
And all this lighting, is here, is those little squiggly lines. You can see that none of it goes over the fence, because there's a fence here, and if there's, I don't recall where the poles are. I imagine they're up in here, but you can see that none of the lighting goes over the fence to the neighbors. And also, if you go up there, there's a boatload of trees all along this area. I mean, it's very heavily wooded because I'm sure they don't want to look
Yeah,
out
that
and
depicts
see
it
all
well,
the,
actually.
go out and see all the junk cars that are there.
There's the woods you just.
And there's the woods right there. And, the lighting plan, does show that it does not encroach on the neighboring property.
So, reference that page for the record? Sure.
So you're actually gonna be. Go-
Plan, and
Paul?
Mr. Ellis was making reference to page EO11.
So you're actually, other way. I'm sorry, I meant down.
Your other arm.
Yeah, that's senior moment. So you're actually, and if you could, zoom in just a bit. There you go. So you're actually gonna be farther away than.
Oh,
current-
much.
Much.
from the
Much.
current-
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's right up to the property line.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking, is because I can see they've got whatever they're right piled up on this.
Probably a zoning violation as it sits, with the cars right against the fence, but just my opinion.
I don't know if those cars could be there right now.
I'm sorry?
I don't know if those cars could be there right now.
I can go into ancient history and tell you that, because I've been in the seat a little while. I know we had a variance application for that to have a lower fence once upon a time, and I'm glad we didn't approve it. And I'm sure the residents are too. Anyway, I editorialize.
Mr. Chair, can I just
Go
ask a
ahead,
follow-up?
Bob.
on-
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so I get clarified on here, as you were describing, sir, that the fence, the trees, obviously, you have the tree line that we can see from here, but from your lighting plans here, which is E11, that the fence, that the lights, that the canopy lights are expected not to go over the fence, correct? They're
Right.
supposed to be either at or below the fence?
Is there, you indicated there's a buffer there. Is there is it gonna be a hill of a certain height there, or is it gonna be flat?
I don't know, it'll be the natural elevation. I don't know that we proposed any mounding per se. Instead, it will be, if I may, I know it's hard to read, or it may be depicted on another plan. Is that okay, Mr. Groves? I apologize.
Oh. Have at it.
So for the record, this entire area, which is 75 feet wide,
Yeah.
and I believe it'll follow the natural terrain, will be grassy buffer. Then there will be the 6-foot full opaque, 100% opaque fence line as well. So I don't know that we're required to do, nor is there contemplated any vertical mount. Instead, providing that buffer.
And I want to note for the record, it's an important consideration, but we're really only considering the variance for the
Correct.
size. So we're not going to approve landscape plans or architectural design.
And I appreciate,
No. And like I said, it's a consideration, but it's really not. It's a small piece of what we're, in my opinion, it's a small piece of what
no,
we're.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chair, and I'll just reiterate again that obviously this is a fully permitted use in the zoning district, so something that was already contemplated could be on the site. I think the buffer and opaque fence provided are substantial, and hopefully for folks who bought a residential lot in an area that abuts a light industrial district would suffice.
Okay, I have a couple questions for staff. They cite 4 properties, Hoover, Home Depot, the 2 storages. Those are all zoned differently than this, correct? These properties are zoned differently?
Westerville North Storage is also a light industrial
Okay.
district.
And did we give them a variance to build that out?
They do have a variance to exceed the 65,000.
Yeah, I kind of vaguely remember that. And then I think they came back again and
And they
We
asked
denied
for
it.
additional, and they did get
Yes.
denied the second time.
right. And so they're built out at 70, help me, 73,000?
I believe that
Yeah,
was.
okay. But the other ones, so really the most relevant one is Westerville Storage, which is an adjoining property. Zoned the same, also had a variance, correct?
If you want to compare the
Well,
same
here-
zoning districts. That
Right,
is correct.
here's where I'm going, is I think he makes a somewhat compelling argument about exceeding the 65,000 limit. That's the only place I'm going. Now, the only place, I said compelling, not convincing. Okay, so tell me about light industrial. When did we zone that property light industrial in round numbers? I don't, you know,
Yeah,
you've been around longer than I have, and I don't
way,
remember.
way before me.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I mean,
So
it's
it's been zone
been-
light industrial
Decades.
for decades. Okay. And what was the purpose of okay, has the number, the 65,000, has that changed at all during your time?
Yes. So when Kroger's originally went in, when Home Depot originally went in, that was not in the zoning resolution. So
The
it was an
size-
amendment, and I can't tell you what
Okay,
year
and
it
that's
went in,
fine.
but it
So that there
an
was no
amendment.
size restriction at that time?
Correct.
Okay. And do we know, because I noticed, you know, in the court decision that I saw immediately that it was considered, that number was considered arbitrary. So I'm trying to define, you know, is it arbitrary? Was there a reason behind it? Is there? Tell
I
me.
don't have the information to answer that
Okay.
question.
I don't dispute Mr. Miller's comment. I think it was designed to prevent,
The big box. I remember there was some discussion.
that's my
early-
recollection.
Yeah, I've probably been around since maybe '07 on various committees and stuff. And I kind of remember there was the big discussion about that, and that may or may not have been the agenda. Okay.
That's my recollection.
And I think there was a hotel at some point considered, I don't know. Okay. So I'm trying to get a little bit of the background to try and, like I said, I think he makes a fairly good argument about, you know, the adjoining property is a variance, and it is. And like I said, I think it's a good argument. I don't know if it's compelling for me or not. But I'm trying to get some background on why that number is that number, basically, to try and justify either that number or the variance. And that's really where I'm trying to get to. So and then the other thing is, and this is probably going to be a discussion item, is the actual structure. You know, it depends on what you consider the structure. The canopy is 37 feet, 37,000 square feet, and Susan has a comment.
So the Genoa Township zoning resolution defines a building.
Yes,
So once you have a solid roof
right.
and you have whatever support poles, then it defines it as a building.
Right, and that's why
It
we
doesn't
sit
have
here
to
12
have
times a year.
walls. It doesn't have to be fully enclosed. It still considers it a building once you put a solid roof.
Yes.
So that's why it gets counted in the square footage.
I guess from a pragmatic and an aesthetic standpoint, I agree, maybe I don't. In some cases, I agree, some cases I don't. Because I think it's important that we take into consideration the adjoining residential neighborhood that's there. And I don't want to be in the position of, you know, of impairing their rights, basically. So, pardon?
Yeah, the two people that you heard from, do you know if any of them were the four that are adjacent to this property?
One was the owner of Westerville North Storage, and the other one was the business that's in the middle between, the Tyson. So they were both commercial business owners. We did not hear from any of the property owners, and I did mail notifications to
residential
every
you
one
hear
of
from.
those.
Let me get a
property
little
owners.
piece of housekeeping out of the way real quick while I'm thinking about it. Is there anyone, member of the public, that would wish to speak on this application? And since I don't see anybody in the room, I'm going to take that as a no, so we can move on. So.
I would just note for the
just for
record,
the
and Mr.
record.
Griggs can vouch for this, perhaps your township administrator and trustees as well. I'm used to turning out for controversial matters in packed rooms, so
Oh,
this probably speaks to
I've
the sensible nature of this project.
I've had it both ways. Trust me. Okay, so I think that's all I've got for right now. I've got a few things, but you guys are remarkably quiet.
Seems pretty straightforward to
Yeah,
me.
straightforward to me.
Yeah,
Okay.
straightforward.
Even though my question varied off of what it was,
No,
it
no,
still
no.
was
Your question is absolutely fine because
what went to G under.
it's regardless of
field.
whether regardless of whether or not we're going to consider approving this application, it's important to know what the end product looks like. We don't get to approve the end
Right.
product, but we do need to consider what it looks like. Because again, I want to be extremely considerate of those, 8 or 10 residences that are contiguous to this property.
4.
I see a few.
That's a
more.
separate parcel, isn't it, up there?
I see,
It's
oh,
part of
that's
it.
true, you're right. Okay.
It is?
Okay. 5. I'm gonna say 5, but
Mhm.
in my
No, no,
professional,
it goes all the way up.
in my professional life, I would consider that last one down there
Okay.
contiguous, but
Mr.
So
Chairman,
it's 2 parcels.
It
That's
is two
what's-
parcels,
okay.
but
So I
I-
was wrong. It
Right.
is both of those.
it is
Correct.
it is
Shapes.
both.
It's just highlighted, the yellow one is the first parcel,
Because
but
that-
it does include the parcel behind
That's the way the
also.
county records, I know. That's the way they show it.
Okay, yeah.
There you go.
So it's that whole thing. So I wasn't wrong. There are like 10 residences.
That's right.
Absolutely.
They each received notification, as I understand.
Right, and none of them are here, and I think that is somewhat compelling also. But like I said, I'm concerned about doing the right thing. And right may be approval and right may not be approval, I don't know, but I think, I feel, and I'm just gonna put this out there for the crowd, I think we're kind of in discussion anyway, is I feel a little bit railroaded from the standpoint that there's a court decision on a similar property that part of the application almost compels us to approve the variance, which I'm not good when those things happen. If it is a variance, if it should be approved, it should be approved. Whether or not a court tells me it should be approved, I don't want to go through 5 years of litigation either. I don't want to put the township through that either. But to put a gun to my head and say, well, court already said you should do it, so just shut up and do it. That's kind of what reading through the application, that's a little bit of what I see. And I appreciate the fact you didn't dwell on that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
I-
trying to say, and therefore shut up and do it. I do think it's instructive and helpful to you, having been personally involved. I can also tell you
Don't disagree with that.
that the township ultimately had to give more square footage than even was originally asked for and pay $50,000 in legal fees.
Because I remember when the variance, I was on the board when the other variance application came, and we denied it, and then it went to zoning, and I guess they denied it too. I don't know where it went from there.
Across the street.
And I really don't I'd rather avoid that if it makes sense.
And if it's
Yes.
helpful, Mr. Chairman, I actually did say in my comments, it'll be reflected in the record. I want you to know this court decision and what Judge Gormley held.
I appreciate that.
Regardless,
That
on
I
its
do
own
appreciate.
merits, this is warranted and sensible.
And like I said, I think you make a compelling argument. Am I convinced? I don't know yet. We still got plenty of time.
I do have.
Okay, go ahead.
I do have a crazy question. On the west side, you have the storage facility that was previously Cardinal,
Yes,
and then it was sold to Public Storage.
that's correct.
Did you have any affiliation with that
I built
at
it.
that time. So why are we building a Cardinal facility now if we had a Cardinal facility and it was sold off?
Clearly, there's demand in the
There's
area.
demand.
I mean.
I also own the
but I
one
mean, if
across
there
the
was a-
street
but if there
in
was a
Westerville.
Cardinal- But if there was a Cardinal facility there, why didn't you utilize that one and still have that one?
Just a market, you know, a business decision to sell.
Okay.
I think it's perfect for the township to recognizing self-storage is a permitted use, and you can't regulate the number of self-storage facilities if it's a permitted use. But for the township itself, this is kind of perfect aesthetically. You can't see these things from the street. I think a lot of municipalities or townships would like, okay, if we're gonna have the storage use, we like that aesthetically it's not dominant from the street.
I was kind of alluding to, if it was such a good storage facility before, why was it sold? And now we're coming back.
Because it was a good storage
It
facility.
was a good storage facility.
That's why
I mean,
public storage bought it.
But is it in the market of owning a storage facility, or in the market to flipping storage facilities?
Yes.
That's my question.
It's either or, and that's market
So
dependent.
there's money in both entities, so to speak.
Yeah, there's money in building it and renting it, and there's money in selling it. And when that one sold, by the way, I had 3 other facilities in town, and so it was a package deal.
And they all went to public storage?
Storage, yes.
Mark, I guess I'm persuaded by the fact that we have a precedent. There have been 2 or 3 other properties that have also all gotten variances. One is a similar use, an identical use for all intents and purposes. And I'm also persuaded by the fact that none of the property owners, having received notice, appeared today and are here to object.
Yeah, I think that is an important consideration. I think if there was a big situation, they'd be sitting out there. And
Right.
You know, and like we know, we've seen it both ways. I had it on the Parks Board at one point in time. I've had it in here. So, yeah, I know what that looks like. And so this is actually a little surprising for me. So, okay. Paul, anything?
I find it to be a desirable use, especially when it's being used as a junkyard right now. And there's not a lot of other uses for something that's landlocked and hidden.
Okay, well, then, I guess we're left with going, I think we're still gonna go through Duncan versus Middlefield. If you wanna do that, Dave?
Yeah, I'll do it. Just one more
Of
question.
the 07 slides, if that's helpful. Excuse me, 06.
We'll just, we're good. Go ahead if you wanna, I just wanna make sure, when I looked at this, it's always the hazard when you look at this and then you go away for a few days and then you come back.
Okay, I'll review Duncan versus Middlefield. The board reviewed section 307.06 of the zoning resolution reflecting Duncan versus Middlefield as it pertains to the area variance requested from section 1505.05 to allow for an increase in maximum gross floor area in a light industrial LI zoning district as follows. A, the property in question would yield a reasonable return, and there can be beneficial use for the property without the variance. And the reason behind that is if something else would be developed there, it could have beneficial use other than a storage facility. The variance, I would say, is substantial for the fact that I'm looking at it as approximately 22.4% greater. 60, I have 79,585 or 65,000.
Oh, Okay.
Well,
I'll
Mr.
take
And
your
then,
word.
Yeah,
and then
Mr.
when,
Chairman, so what the courts have typically held is that anything less than a 25% deviation is not substantial.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank
it's
you
not
for
If
that
it's
insight.
over 25%, then it
It
would be
is
substantial, but
considered
typically
substantial.
courts kind of draw that line right about 25%.
Okay,
Okay.
thank
Just
you.
for future reference.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Mhm.
We've never had that
so
yardstick.
then to clarify, it is not substantial at 22.4%. And then, just to clarify, the parking area looks to be about 12% of that 22% area, if that makes sense. You were looking at approximately half.
Yes.
The essential character of the neighborhood, I would say it would substantially be altered just for the fact that now we're building on an empty lot, and the adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. The lot is empty currently. It will be substantially altered. However, it's a benefit and not basically a hindrance to what it is today.
Can I add something real quick? I
Yes.
just found this in the code because we were talking about whether or not it's, if there's the current use is prohibited, and it actually is. Where it says inoperable, unlicensed, or unused motor vehicles for a period exceeding 7 days is prohibited. So it's actually an improvement from a prohibited use.
D, the variance would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. E, the property owner, I want to say, did purchase the property with the knowledge of the zoning restrictions. The fact that we're sitting here today is a knowledge of, we do know what the restrictions are within Genoa Township. F, the property owner's predicament, I'm going to say cannot be feasibly obviated through a method other than the variance in this case for the building of the public storage facility. G, the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance. And again, we would be putting a facility today in a flagged lot that's landlocked, whereas there's probably not a good use for that land if we didn't do something to develop it for something of this use. Well, Mr. Chair, do you want to go through the motions?
Yeah. I just have a quick question for the applicant, the council. It appears as though your application actually, and I think you said this, but refresh my memory, it actually conforms to a planned commercial district. Is that?
Sorry, say that again, sir.
Your proposal actually conforms to the planned commercial district as well as the light industrial. Is that an
Planned
accurate-
industrial district or planned
Yes,
commercial?
That's what I mean, planned industrial.
Sitting here tonight, I can't just say off
Yeah,
the
I'm
cuff.
saying
It may
that.
very well, I mean, I was
It's-
involved in the
it
prior
looks-
development.
Just thumbing through it, it looks like it does. So,
No, I mean, and that goes to the point, prior to making any motion, on Susan's staff report, letter H,
okay.
had a request that a condition be placed upon it, that they have to meet all the other
Oh, absolutely.
general requirements. So I just want to bring that up,
100%.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
It looks like it does, but that's not what we do.
that's for Susan and Joe to
Absolutely.
determine. Yeah,
And whoever.
Yeah.
It's way beyond this room, though. Yes. Okay. Somebody want to make a motion then? You want to do that, Mark? Thank you.
Yep. Move to incorporate exhibits, what do we have, A through D?
A through D, I think,
A
still.
through D.
Did we add?
Because we have their slide,
Oh,
their
the
PowerPoint
the
presentation.
slides?
Okay,
Okay.
so E is the slide, no, PowerPoint presentation. So A through E, as well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence and to approve the requested variance from section 1505.05 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution for BZA case number 2023-14 Application received October 4, 2023, to allow for maximum floor, or gross floor area of a commonly controlled business operation of, and that's the 79,585 square feet on the property known as 6201 Maxtown Road, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, which is zoned light industrial. As a part of that motion, we'll read into the record the request from staff that such approval only constitutes approval of the specific variance being requested and does not constitute approval of a development plan nor approval of a zoning permit. The unrelated items identified in staff's review of the applicant's response to comments dated November 9, 2023, and there's an attachment with that information, still need to be addressed as part of a new non-residential zoning permit application. Such application will need to be approved by staff prior to construction of the proposed buildings. The motion is based upon the following findings of fact pursuant to section 307.04 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, that such variance or modification will not be contrary to the public interest because there's already a similar use for an adjacent property, and there are other properties in the locale that have also received variances similar to this request. Number two, that owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of this zoning resolution will result in an unnecessary hardship because the property cannot be developed and would be distinguished from a very similar property adjacent to it. Number three, that the approval of such variance or modification thereof is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution, and substantial justice shall be done thereby because there's a variety of reasons. The property will be enhanced. It will not adversely affect the adjacent property owners, and we've heard from none of them tonight to express any opposition. Approval of the subject variance is okay so far?
Yeah,
Okay.
doing fine.
Doing fine. Approval of the subject variance is subject to the owner's agreement to the following conditions incorporated by the board wishes to apply. One, all required permits, zoning or otherwise, be obtained. Number two, the pursuant to section 307.11 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, the approved variance shall lapse, expire, and be null and void ab initio if required zoning permits are not obtained within 1 year of this motion of approval. Number three, the extensions to this variance may be requested pursuant to sections 307.11A and B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as may be amended. Number four, the Board of Zoning Appeals does grant the Genoa Township zoning inspector authority to extend this variance at their discretion, subject to the deadlines established within section 307.11A of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as may be permitted, and also incorporating the language that we recited at the top of the motion be incorporated as part of the motion.
I will second.
Hang on. Did we specifically state, and I think you did, but that this is only, it's not an approval of the development plan, it's only approval for the variance?
Yeah, that was
of
read
the
in as
square
part of the
footage.
motion.
Okay, that's what I thought, but
Mhm.
it was so long ago.
Sorry.
You know.
I'll speak faster
And
next
yeah,
time.
and I'm getting up there in age. Okay, all right, and we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Call a vote?
Call a vote. Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Mr. DeRose?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Variance is approved.
Thank you.
Thank
A
you very
little
much.
easier than the last time, I suspect.
Thanks for your time. We
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing how you improve the property.
Yes.
Oh, they're towing in and out of there.
I'm sorry.
You have to remove them all.
You know, there's a real big market for those cars, and we have to give Al's Towing
Yeah, they just rent or lease or
Yeah, they
whatever.
just rent it.
Yeah,
And, you know, so they won't have any problems getting rid of the cars.
oh, I'm sure not.
I talked to a friend of mine in the salvage business.
They used to have
He said he'd buy 'em
auctions up
wholesale.
there all the time.
There's a real market for those, believe it or not. I don't know why they're holding on.
Are there some good ones in there, or are they just?
That's
There's a lot of junk. Oh, I haven't been back there, so I don't know if there's a lot of junk.
Okay, we do have other business. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
You bet.
All right. We have, oh, where'd the thing go? All right, the hearing is concluded at 8:06. Here, you want to take a 5-minute break? Let's just take, hey, Paul, let's take a 5-minute break.
And then you just.
Are we good?
Subtract from one.
Okay, and we're back. All right, we had a second case tonight, which was BZA case 2023-15, I believe, yes. And apparently the applicant has requested to have a hearing at the December meeting. And do we need to do a motion on that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
You know why?
so I'll
Towards
read the
back.
application into the record and then we'll, or no.
Yes,
There's
you
an
can.
Yes.
there's an email in the thing.
Oh, there's the email, okay.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing at 8:12. And I'll read the legal notice into the record. And Brenda Frecka requesting approval of a variance to allow a new single-family residence currently under construction to exceed the maximum allowed building height of 35 feet at 1501 Hoover Woods Drive, Galena, Ohio, 43021, currently zoned residential RR, and that's BZA case 2023-15. And I will note, okay, the legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on November 11th, 2023 in the Delaware Gazette, posted at the Genoa Township Hall, November 8th, 2023. An attempt to mail notice of the hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. And we have entered into evidence the legal notice, the sign-in sheet, application, and staff report as exhibits A through D. At this time, we have a email from the applicant as of today, the 28th, 4:08 p.m., requesting that this hearing be continued to the December meeting, which I believe is the 28th, is that correct?
19th, it says.
Oh, the 19th, right, okay. You're right, that's what I meant. And at this time, will entertain, since the applicant has not appeared, I will entertain a motion to continue this case to December 19th, 2023 at our regular meeting.
So, Mark,
Yes.
so y'all know,
Yes,
so when they submitted the application, only the builder had signed the application, and I said, you have to get the property owners either some kind of authorization
Right.
or they need to sign the application.
Mhm.
Didn't think that would be a major issue,
Oh,
but
it isn't.
evidently it was,
Huh.
because they still haven't been able to secure that signature. So,
Is the structure in progress already?
yes,
And it exceeds limits the way it's being built?
correct.
Based on the plans, yes.
So that's the reason why they're asking for the continuance, so
Sure.
that they can still have a few more weeks to secure that signature. Hopefully, they will do that. And they said they were confident they could get that accomplished.
Okay.
But is it, I have a question, and I don't mean to be
Sure, Bob. No,
overly
go ahead.
critical about this, but is the builder trying to get the person who wants the variance's signature? And the person who wants the variance isn't signing the document, and the builder's asking us for the continuance. I don't know, there's just a part of me that says, you want your house built, sign the form.
Well,
Right.
the other side.
So the
I mean,
the house is already under construction. So, and not going into any details, there's some underlying circumstances, so I did think it would be an issue since we already have an application for next month, so you'll be here anyway. So then we could just hear that one.
Historically, I don't have a problem accommodating the applicant anyway. And it's kind of as far as getting the signature, I see that as kind of a them problem. And if they get it, they get it. If they don't, then
Mm-hmm.
it is
There,
what it
right,
is,
right,
right?
correct.
Doesn't seem.
So it's still going to require, at some point, it's still going to require a variance, whether it's this month, next month, the month after, whatever. It still requires it, or it's going to be in violation. So,
Correct.
But I guess go to Bob's point, the application wasn't properly submitted then. The homeowner didn't sign the application.
Correct.
And we're just giving them an opportunity to comply with what they should have done in the beginning.
Right, to complete the application essentially is what we're
Okay.
giving them an
I mean,
opportunity.
technically, it's
It's an
void now.
incomplete- Right, it's an incomplete application is what
Okay.
it is, so.
And like I said, I did not think it was going to be an issue, so I processed the application,
Yeah.
not thinking it would be, but
Something tells me this happens.
now I
pretty
know
often.
that it could be. So,
Live and learn.
right.
We'll know next month.
There you go. I guess, yeah, we'll find out on the 19th. Merry
Right,
Christmas.
right.
There you
If
go.
Santa
Yep.
brings your application or not. Okay.
So page 11 gives you your,
Oh, okay, do we have a,
um,
do we have an option here? Because I'll just make the,
suggestions there for you.
yes, okay, hold on here. Because I'm just dying to make the, okay, we're gonna table this, is that what we're doing? No.
Continue it.
We're gonna, continuance, okay, I'm gonna move to continue the public hearing for the subject application known as, well, that's the wrong one.
Page 11, top of page 11.
Well, oh, there it is, got it.
You're on page 11.
For the subject application known as 10501 Hoover Woods Road, BZA case 2023-15 until December 19th, December 19th, 2023, until the completed application is received by the zoning department, which needs to be in by, well, it should have been in November 21st. So what do you want to make that date, staff? December, you've done the work, so
Just have to have the signature to us
Friday,
by
December 7th?
the 18th. I mean, we're not re-advertising or anything.
You don't need to re-advertise?
We do not, since you're doing it to a specific date and time.
Okay,
For the record here, we don't have to re-advertise.
okay.
So, I mean, really, they only need enough time to get us the signature. So I'm
Let's
not
make
getting
it
any new
the
materials.
15th, the Friday before. Fair? Okay, December 15th at 4 PM. And I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Okay, Mr.
Mark, sorry,
DeRose.
can you add a time in there too? Date
Yeah,
and
4
time?
PM, 4 PM. on,
Time for the meeting.
oh, December 19th at 7 PM.
Thank you.
Okay, which is the regular meeting, scheduled meeting.
Correct.
Okay, Mr. DeRose has second, roll call. Mr. Boone,
Yes.
Mr. DeRose,
Yes.
Mr. Hanson? Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, so the application is continued. Apparently, we have one other quick item, and that is the schedule, meeting schedule for next year. So I think we entertained this before, did we not?
I think that you looked at it.
And I think we said, let's revisit this in November, and here it is. So are you guys good with these dates?
I already added them to the calendar, so.
I actually, I make all my plans around this calendar, as you probably
We
all
don't really
know.
need a formal motion or
These-
anything. We
okay.
just need to know that you're all okay with it.
Yeah.
and-
That is
Oh,
any
you're
other
good.
date, so it's good.
There you go, yeah, get the dart. I just put it in the mix. Okay, then if there's nothing else, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Okay. Any opposed? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, and then opposed, none? Okay, we're adjourned at 8:20.